with that, let's get into some Atlanta Falcons football, Beau, because we've been doing our series where we're breaking down every single position throughout the Atlanta Falcons roster. And today I want to focus on the linebackers because this is a bit of an interesting group. Young at its core, but we've added a lot of veterans to it as well. I think about Troy Andersen, obviously D'Angelo Malone, Arnold Ebiketie, who's kind of an outside linebacker / defensive end in that role. And then I think about the veterans we brought in. We brought in Bud Dupree. So when I think about this this linebacker group, really, Caden Ellis, I don't want to forget him either. I'm really wondering, like, I know defense is different because it's not necessarily about who starts. It's about the snaps that you get in the snap percentage. So when you first think about the linebackers, I mean, to start out, and when we talk about snap percentage as well, I mean, is the majority of the workload going to be on Troy Andersen in the middle? Do you think Caden Ellis is that guy in the middle too? Because, I mean, at this point, it seems like obviously we're not bringing back Rashawn Evans. So Caden Ellis and Troy Andersen in the middle, and then maybe Arnold Ebiketie, Lorenzo Carter on the outside, or does Bud Dupree, who has been impressing throughout the offseason for the Falcons, do you think he gets more of the snaps on that side of Lorenzo Carter? I mean, what are you thinking when we talk about the linebackers here?
Well, where do you want me to start? Inside or out? Because out's a totally different story than inside.
I think outside is a little bit more intriguing to me because I think we know inside is going to be mainly Troy Andersen, Caden Ellis, Michael Walker is going to be sprinkled in there for sure. But I think inside we kind of know what to expect, right? And I think outside is going to be a little bit more different, like you said.
Well, honestly, I think outside is going to be multiple things. I think situational. Technically you went through them, but correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say Ogundeji?
I didn't mention him. No,
because Ogundeji's a guy. I think Zach Harrison is a guy that technically could be standing up. D'Angelo Malone. Did you mention D Malone?
I did. I
thought so. I was making sure that we didn't miss anybody.
I almost forgot about Lorenzo Carter.
So I think there's a couple of guys that they want to play, that they want to have, that it's not situational. I honestly think, I know Ogundeji is going to be more run, and I think Zach Harrison at first could be more run. I think they want Zach Harrison to be an everything guy. But I think Zoe's an everything guy as well.
Right.
But I think when I think of Dupree and Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone he's in the middle too. All those guys can do everything, but for me, I'm not getting overly hung up on all those names and saying who's where. These guys are going to play based on situations and what they do to earn that playing time. So if Ebiketie comes out of the box in the preseason, looks well, and maybe he earns that nod from the pass because of his pass rushing abilities, that kind of thing, then I think he might see a few more of the snaps. But then again, I think if he doesn't, you can see Bud Dupree. I think a lot of that's going to depend there. The other thing that I would probably make sure is you've went out and signed a Bud Dupree, not only for veteran presence, but you're trying to build depth.
Correct.
So if you can rotate these guys and they are producing within the rotation, you want to keep them fresh.
Right.
You want to keep them going, not only for games, but as the season wears on.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick. So because I just want you to talk about that a little bit more. If you had a ballpark number, and it might be tough to tell right about now, but if you had a ballpark number, I mean, how often do you expect the guys to rotate? I mean, is it every couple of plays? I don't expect he's going to leave guys in there for entire drives, but I mean, what do you expect that rotation to be like?
It's honestly hard to say right now.
Yeah.
I would think that Bud Dupree might be in here at first, early in the season as a pass rush specialist. But I don't know. I've seen Lorenzo Carter play a lot of snaps, and I've seen Ebiketie play a lot of snaps. So those guys might be, and even D'Angelo Malone in some ways. So those guys could be more of, they could get more snaps than a Bud Dupree, than a D'Angelo Malone. Adi Ogundeji is probably going to get a few more snaps depending on the team you play, depending on if they're a heavy pass, heavy rush. It's really hard because I think a lot of it's going to dictate how you play.
Right.
So
matchups too, like you said.
Yeah. So yeah, matchups. Well, matchups are always big. So
yeah,
I wish I could put a number on it, but I can't. I can't 100%. I guess what you could do is go look at snap count percentages for guys when they played last year, the guys that were here. And there's ways to do that, but I'm looking right now and I'm looking at Lorenzo Carter, and looks like defensively he played 81% of the defensive snaps last year.
Out there a lot.
Arnold Ebiketie only played 45. Adi played 48. So now you've lost a guy in Rashaan Evans in the middle who played 98%.
Goodness.
But D'Angelo Malone, he upticked there late, and he ended up getting almost 20%. But those were young guys, and those were guys that were considered linebackers. And then you have, so you would like Arnold Ebiketie to play more than 45% of the snaps next year.
Sure.
I don't know if it's good or bad. It could mean that he's progressed so much as a pass rusher and that other guys have progressed in the run game that you didn't need him and that you can make him more specialized. But I based on that, I would kind of expect Lorenzo Carter to get around 80% of the snaps, and I'd kind of expect Arnold Ebiketie, I would like to see him uptick and get maybe 50, 55, and maybe D'Angelo Malone and Bud Dupree can share the rest or help Zoe out on the other side. So it's hard to say, but either Lorenzo, and this is kind of a silly thing to say, but one or two things can be said. If Lorenzo Carter's not getting around 80% of the snaps, it could mean that you didn't bring guys in to compete. You brought guys in that kind of helped him take plays off to where he didn't have to play over.
Correct.
It could mean he regressed. I'm not a big fan of that word regression, but so I would like Lorenzo Carter to play less snaps, so he's a fresher player. I'd like all those guys. I really don't want any of those guys playing that much because I think that way you can keep them fresh to go out to the passer. But then again, it could mean that they have come on so strongly that
you can't help but have them in
nowhere near the team without them.
Right.
So it's hard for me to comment because it's also based on a different defense.
It's true. Very true. And Ryan Nielsen could be wanting, not something completely different, but just the way he looks at rotations and, keeping guys fresh and, just things like that. He could just have a different mindset than what Dean Pease had a year ago. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But one quick question before we move on from the position breakdown of the linebackers. Do you think, and again, this is the same discussion of different defense, not sure how Ryan Nielsen is going to handle it, but do you think, because we all expect Troy Andersen to be that guy in the middle to kind of anchor this linebacker core, do you expect Troy Andersen to be kind of that replacement for Rashaan Evans? And do you expect him to kind of be at the same level Rashaan Evans was last year and get 98% of snaps? And I ask that because, that's not to say that he can't do it, but that is a lot of pressure on a second-year player.
Yeah, again, I don't know how they want to funnel this defense next year.
Right.
I know last year the way Dean set things up, it seemed to funnel everything into those middle linebackers, and that's one of the reasons that Rashaan had it. you have to know how Ryan Nielsen wants to use Caden Ellis.
Right.
Because Caden Ellis in the past has been used as a guy that was more of just do his job. And because he's doing his job and he's right where he's supposed to be, he fell into tackles and sacks. Honestly, I don't want to say he fell into sacks last year, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they'll tell you, hey, maintain your rush lanes. Because if you maintain your rush lanes and you're doing your job, there are times where because of that, things are going to fall in your lap or get funneled to you, or you're funneling it to someone else. So I don't know that there is a Rashaan Evans.
Mm.
Same
Yeah.
way on
Right.
what Ryan Nielsen wants to do.
Right.
But I do think that if there's one guy that Ryan Nielsen was super excited about the day he took the job, it was Troy Andersen. So
Right.
he has hopes for Troy Andersen. He
For
has a
sure.
designed role. Troy Andersen, to me, if he can progress, he is a Luke Kuechly type player, or could be, has the potential. The athletic. Well, look, I'm not trying to compare him,
Well, I
but
know.
they're both athletic, physical, fast guys. If he can get the foot, Luke Kuechly was an elite football IQ player.
For sure.
Elite, like a Ray Lewis type player as far as elite, knowing exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there have been pieces on him where he's telling people where to go even beforehand. I mean, he knew the offense's plays before they even snapped it. So he was on that type of level. So I definitely get what you're saying. Now, Troy Andersen isn't on that level yet, but like you said, if he can get there, he has all the same athletic abilities. As long as that IQ is there, you know, there's potential there for him to be that same type of player.
Yeah, and look, the IQ thing, that's not a knock on a person's intelligence.
Right.
I want that to be very clear. That's just saying that they know the game so well because they film study. Could be work ethic. I mean,
correct.
A lot of times football IQ comes from, playing the game so long, but being a bookworm.
For sure.
Ricardo Allen had immense football IQ because he was a film nerd. The guy was always in film study.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first one there, last one to leave. And that's no joke. And that makes you a better player. So it could depend. It's not always dependent on the physical attributes. It's also the mental aspect of the game. So I think that Troy Andersen, there's a lot of people that are high on him, and that's why they took him there. And I thought he started to show it last year as he took over from Michael Walker. But again, you never know how these things are going to play out or what's going to be asked of these guys. But I would like to think that from what I've kind of seen, a little bit I've seen on film, that this defense is one of those where, and I think every defense you could probably say this, but if you just do your job, you're gonna get a lot out of it, and especially with Ryan Nielsen, for what I've seen from Caden Ellis last year on film from New Orleans, and I'm sure maybe that's the job Troy Andersen plays, and he uses Caden Ellis for other things. You just don't know, and I'm not sure if the door is closed on Rashaan Evans or not.
Right.
I would like to think Rashaan Evans, since he's still out there,
still a chance.
Has a chance. I'm not sure exactly what they're waiting for, unless the price coming down or that I would expect this time you told me if this was August 21st and not June 21st, I think there's a really extremely good chance that somewhere in the NFL, Rashaan Evans is now on a team.
Yeah, I mean, especially from what he put on tape last year. I mean, he had nothing but good tape. He was durable, reliable, sure tackler. Like, I don't see why Rashaan Evans honestly isn't a team already. And again, hopefully the Falcons can bring him in and bring him back, because I mean, whether he starts or whether he's just, again, a depth piece, I mean, that'd be great depth for the Atlanta Falcons. But you have to think, if they sign Rashaan Evans, he might be a plug and play type of player. But it's going to be very interesting to see with or without Rashaan Evans, this Falcons linebacker core, because again, like you said, this Ryan Nielsen defense, still, we want to see exactly what it looks like in action. like you talked about, is he going to funnel stuff to the middle? Is he maybe going to try to clog up the middle, funnel stuff to the outside, and let his athletes try to make plays in space? It's all yet to be seen. And, you know, with new pieces as well, you know, you have to take into account how he's going to, you know, put guys in the best situations and put them in situations where he know they can succeed, like Trey Andersen, the athlete. Let him do work in space. Let Lorenzo Carter, you know, go pin his ears back and go after the quarterback. Arnold Ebiketie, same deal. Bud Dupree, same thing. So just how he's going to put guys in positions to make plays and get the best out of them. That's going to be very interesting to see how he accomplishes that. But